Yuli went for a routine gynecological exam, but the doctor mistakenly injected her with the last vial of a rich man's sperm when the doctor realized her mistake. She chose to cover it up. Her lawyer boyfriend assured her no one would find out as long as the girl doesn't become pregnant. 3 weeks later, Yuli fainted and was rushed to the hospital. The doctor unexpectedly said it was a typical symptom of early pregnancy. This statement left both her boyfriend and mother in shock. They burst out laughing. Her boyfriend said the doctor must be joking, but the doctor was certain the blood test was accurate. Yuli still didn't believe she was pregnant. Because at age 15, under her grandmother's pressure, she made a vow of keep her virginity before marriage. Her boyfriend Kang, who's a detective, is also a devout Christian. They often have to confess to the priest their sins every time they get close to breaking their promises of not having sex before marriage. Even the priest was growing impatient with them and urges them to get married. So Yuli was very confident she wasn't pregnant. Her boyfriend suspiciously asked if the blood and urine sample used for the test was wrong. Yuli told her family not to worry. She will go to the gynecology department for another test. Unexpectedly, the doctor said in a panic. The doctor then knelt down, begging for Yuli's forgiveness, saying that as long as she has the abortion procedure quickly, everything will be fine. It turns out the sperm belonged to Chen, the CEO of a top cosmetic surgery institute, who happened to be there when Yuli fainted and sent her to the hospital. Although still young, he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Before treatment, he froze some of his healthy sperm. Now that his cancer has been cured, the first thing he did when he returned was give his wife Mary divorce papers as he found out Mary had been cheating on him. Panicking, she sought her mother's advice. Her mother, however, remained calm. Because she had bribed the hospital, she arranged for Mary to undergo insemination without Chen's consent. As long as she became pregnant, she could continue her luxurious life. But things didn't go as planned. The doctor already mistakenly inseminated the wrong person. Now that Yuli's pregnant, the doctor had to inform the wealthy couple. Once again, kneeling down to beg for their forgiveness, Mary became furious, threatening to sue the doctor and make sure they went to prison. But Chen sarcastically remarked that, despite all her planning, she didn't get what she wanted. He declared that their marriage was now over. Although he acted like he didn't care on the surface, when he saw some babies at the hospital, he couldn't help but wanted a child of his own. After all, he had lost his ability to have children. When Yuli and her mom returned home, her boyfriend Kang was already waiting, but Yuli hid the fact that she was pregnant. Kang was relieved. He then took Yuli to the church. Suddenly, a group of girls holding candles appeared, singing as they surrounded them. A drone slowly descended from the sky. Kang took a gift box from it, revealing a ring inside. He knelt on one knee and proposed to Yuli. Yuli told him about the pregnancy, but instead of abandoning her, Kang offered to take her for the procedure. He said once everything was settled, they could talk about getting married. The next day, Mary found Yuli, bringing her a lot of expensive nutritional products, hoping Yuli would give birth to the child and give the baby to her because it was her husband's last vial of sperm. Yuli refused, saying giving birth to the child would ruin her life. Then she turned and walked away. The next day, Mary and her wealthy father-in-law came directly to Yuli's place. The chairman begged Yuli to give birth to his grandson. He even brought a box filled with 1 billion yuan and promised that after the child was born, he would give another billion. Yuli felt insulted. She stood up and walked out. In contrast, Chen told Yuli, despite he would never have his own child, he wouldn't expect Yuli to give birth to the baby. As he spoke, Yuli recalled Chen was actually the guy she gave her first kiss to years ago during her graduation trip. The next day, her family accompanied her to the hospital for the procedure. Unexpectedly, the chairman was already waiting there. Both sides engaged in intense arguments. Yuli's mother was stunned by the offer of the 2 billion yuan. Yuli noticed her mother's hesitant expression and remembered how her mom once needed 50 million yuan to pursue her dream of becoming a singer, but gave up that dream when she had Yuli at 18. Yuli thought her mother would be tempted, but to her surprise, her mother stood by her. Yuli then lay down on the operating table. But as the surgery was about to start, she felt guilty to harm the little life inside her. So she decided to give birth to the baby and give it to Chen, stating she didn't want a penny. She only hoped the baby would grow up happily in a complete family. Although Chen had already filed for divorce with his wife, he decided to keep it from Yuli for now as he truly wanted the child. However, the next day, Yuli saw Chen hugging another woman. She couldn't believe Chen was such a scumbag. She looked him up online and found gossip about him messing around with celebrities and models. This made her question her decision to have the baby. She decided to talk to Chen about it. When Chen went to the bathroom, a message popped up on his phone. Yuli couldn't resist checking the message. She found out a female celebrity was meeting him, so she secretly followed him. But because she got too close, the celebrity noticed her. Yuli awkwardly confronted them about their relationship. Just then, a little girl holding a doll walked over and said she wanted to give it to Chen. It turned out the girl was also a cancer patient. Chen had recommended his own doctor to her, and the celebrity was the girl's aunt. Yuli and Chen later talked by the river. She awkwardly apologized to Chen. Chen admitted he used to live recklessly, but after being diagnosed with cancer, he learned to cherish life. Soon, Yuli had her first prenatal checkup. Both families gathered. The chairman even thanked Yuli for her selfless sacrifice, but her grandmother wasn't so pleased. The doctor was overwhelmed by the large group, and confused by their complicated relationships, she kicked everyone out except the father. When the two saw the baby on the ultrasound screen, they were both in awe. It was their first moment feeling like parents. Back home, Yuli looked at the ultrasound picture of the baby and realized how naive she had been. She thought having a baby would be simple, but now she couldn't imagine how she'd feel after 9 months. She wasn't sure if she could still give the baby away. Overcome with emotion, she broke down in tears. Her mother and grandmother comforted her. The next day, Chen and his wife invited Yuli to dinner. She thought about how they would be seeing each other often, so she confessed to her boyfriend that her first kiss during her graduation trip was actually with Chen. Kang was so shocked, he pulled over, thinking, what kind of crazy coincidence is this? Meanwhile, Chen suddenly had a flashback. He remembered that the girl he met back then during the trip was Yuli, finding it unbelievable that they had crossed paths again. Meanwhile, a famous celebrity unexpectedly saw his first love at a fan meeting, and it turned out she was Yuli's mother. He recalled their secret relationship from their school days when she became pregnant. He wanted to take responsibility, but the girl disappeared from his life. Now that they had met again, she tried to leave, but in a panic, he shouted her name, drawing attention from the crowd. They went to a park to talk, and Yuli's mother revealed that she had secretly given birth to their daughter, who is now working as an assistant screenwriter at his company. The man was shocked because he had just scolded that assistant earlier. Little did he know that Yuli was his daughter. He wanted to reunite with her. But the mother said their daughter believed her father had died long ago, and that she was also dealing with some issues right now. She suggested they reunite after everything was settled. So the man changed into a pink suit to try to improve her impression of him and brought expensive snacks for his daughter. However, the screenwriter thought he was there to revise the script again. He said no. Then he started praising Yuli's talent. Feeling overwhelmed, Yuli quickly found an excuse to leave. The father offered to give her a lift, but Yuli refused. Later, her father visited her mother again, finding her still attractive. He couldn't resist getting closer to her. At that moment, the grandmother returned home and the TV was playing a series in which her idol was the male lead. She got out her phone and recorded a video of the man getting intimate with a woman, then rushed to share it with her daughter. When she opened the door, she was shocked to see a similar scene. The man immediately got up in embarrassment. The grandmother then realized her idol is the man who abandoned her daughter years ago. The grandmother angrily slapped him several times. Yuli's mother explained back then actually it was her that left the man. The man promised to the grandmother he will take the responsibilities as a husband and a father. In order to gain her mother-in-law's approval, he went to the nursing home to apologize to her. He was recognized by some elderly fans there. They all asked for his autograph, but he politely declined. However, seeing his mother-in-law's expression, he immediately gave them autographs and took pictures with them. He even sang a few songs especially for the elderly women. Her mother-in-law was moved. She revealed how difficult it had been for her daughter to raise the child all these years. Upon learning that Yuli became pregnant due to a medical accident, he stormed into the hospital in anger, demanding an explanation, but he was secretly filmed by bystanders, and the video was posted online. The video quickly went viral. Uninformed netizens thought he was being rude at the hospital. They began unfollowing him on social media. Major brands also announced they were canceling their collaborations with him. The man, however, said that even if his reputation were to be ruined, he would still fight for justice for his daughter. That evening, he went to Yuli's home, ignoring the objections of Yuri's mother, revealed the secret that he was her father. Yuli was stunned by the news. When Yuli went for another checkup at the hospital, other pregnant women had one man with them, but she had two, her boyfriend Kang. and Chen, the baby's father, which made the situation strange and funny. Yuli's father urged her not to have the baby. He feared it will ruin her reputation as she's not married. Yuli angrily rebuked him for showing up after years of absence, questioning his right to interfere in her life. Overcome with guilt, her father admitted he hadn't fulfilled his role. Just then, a paparazzo showed up taking many shots. Yuli instinctively covered her face. Her father grabbed the camera and smashed it sarcastically, saying the camera was too old and offering to buy a new one. However, the paparazzo threatened to expose a scandal involving him and a young woman. To protect Yuli, her father agreed to give an exclusive interview on the condition that Yuli won't be mentioned. The next day, the internet was full of gossip saying Yuli was the actor's secret daughter. Yuli's mother finally decided to tell her what happened years ago. She was pressured by the mother of Yuri's father to abort Yuli when she was pregnant, and out of fear, she left without a word. Yuli was shocked, realizing the heavy burden her mother had been carrying over the years, and forgave her for keeping this secret for so long. While Yuli felt uneasy about the internet's harsh judgment of her father, he suffered further as scandals damaged his reputation. When Yuli called to check on him, he reassured her, saying the storm will pass. However, a video soon surfaced showing a doctor apologizing for a misunderstanding. People started to support Yuli's father again. His followers skyrocket, reaching over 1 million, and big brands line up to collaborate with him. It turned out it was Chen pressured the doctor to clear up the confusion. That evening, Yuli's mother brought her to the high school she attended, where a touching surprise was arranged. A video of Yuli's choir performance as a student. The nostalgic scene brought tears to everyone's eyes, especially Yuli's father. Yuli finally felt the joy of family reunion, all thanks to Chen. Yuli's boyfriend Kong arrived late due to work, seeing them happily leaving together, and felt like an outsider. Later, they all went to an expensive restaurant for dinner. Yuli's grandmother was very happy about Chen's generosity. Feeling embarrassed, Kang stood awkwardly aside where Yuli's father and Chen competed to pay the bill. Chen suggested they have a Japanese meal next time, which only deepened Kang's discomfort, knowing he can't afford such things. Later, Yuli and Chen attended a prenatal yoga class. Surrounded by couples, they grew embarrassed as the exercises become more intimate and they had to stop in the middle. When they were leaving, their hands accidentally touched, leaving both flustered. Chen pretended to have a sore neck, saying he slept awkwardly the night before to ease the tension. That night, Yuli's father discussed with Yuli and Chen about suing the doctor on the medical accident. Kang saw this again, feeling like an outsider. The next day, Yuli learned that Kang had been hiding the truth about a murder case involving Mary. This led to a bitter argument. Yuli asked Kang whether he's hiding the truth because once she knew, she wouldn't give the baby to Mary, and Kang would have to raise the baby with her. Kang didn't deny. He then explained the baby totally spoiled their plan for future. He just wanted to live a normal life with Yuli. Knowing how much pressure her decision of keeping the baby had put on Kang, Yuli felt guilty for putting Kang under so much pressure and broke up with him. Chen, meanwhile, felt happy and relieved when Mary finally signed the divorce papers. After Yuli's breakup, she lost her appetite and became depressed. Chen was concerned that their baby might be affected. Using a work meeting as an excuse, he tricked Yuli and their colleagues into going to a resort to relax. He also arranged for a star chef to prepare a lavish dinner. When he heard she was having trouble sleeping, he recorded a bedtime story for the baby, which touched Yuli. She thought to herself that even this playboy had a cute side. The next morning, Chen dreamt about kissing Yuli, which shocked him. Later at a sonogram appointment, he saw the baby's tiny hands and feet. Without thinking, he held Yuli's hand, and they quickly pulled away in embarrassment. Hearing their baby's heartbeat brought Chen to tears. The doctor handed him tissues, as if used to such emotional moments, and Yuli tried to comfort him. Yet the more she consoled him, the more intensely he cried. Yuli's mother saw him in tears and remarked that he wasn't acting like a man, but Yuli's grandmother said it was a sign of his true feelings. Seeing them together, her grandmother hoped they would end up as a couple. However, her mother countered that if they were together, how would they face Kang? Even after he managed to stop crying, Chen found himself emotional again when he realized they'd see the baby's full 3D face in 20 weeks. At this point, Yuri's view of Chen began to change. Meanwhile, Chen's father, the chairman, was adamant about not approving the divorce and demanded Chen withdraw the application. Yuli, who happened to overhear their conversation, firmly stood her ground, stating that she would never allow the baby to be raised by someone with a questionable personal life like Mary. She encouraged the chairman to trust Chen's decision. This made Chen fall for Yuli even more. The following day, they met with the doctor to discuss compensation for the mistake, and the doctor apologized again. Yuli acknowledged that while the situation had been an accident, she now saw the baby as a gift from God for both her and Chen, and she decided not to pursue the matter further. Chen again was moved by her. Later that day, as Yuli was walking home, a delivery driver almost crashed into her. Thankfully, Chen appeared just in time and pulled her into his arms. Their eyes met and he almost kissed her but snapped back to reality, realizing it wasn't a dream. Flustered, he quickly made an excuse and escaped the scene. That night, neither of them could sleep. Yuli even dreamt of kissing him, which left her distracted the whole next day. Later, she was cornered by a group of people. It turned out that a social media influencer, hired by Mary, had exposed Yuli's private life online to gain attention. Fortunately, Chen arrived in time and took Yuli away from the crowd. Hearing of this, the chairman confronted Mary, warning her that if she continued to harass Yuli, she'd be in trouble. Mary, feeling bitter, devised a new plan. She invited Yuli out, intending to harm her unborn child by drugging her. Just as Yuli was about to drink the spiked water, Chen showed up. He told Mary to settle things directly with him without involving Yuli, who was carrying his only child. Overcome with guilt, Mary couldn't bring herself to harm him or the baby. Just in time, she grabbed the cup from Yuli, spilling the water, saving the baby from danger. That night, Yuli's father visited Chen, jokingly calling him his son-in-law, which left Chen a bit shy. Yuli's father explained that he'd always seen Chen as reliable and trustworthy. Just then, the chairman walked in, and Yuli's father playfully called him in-law, leading to laughter all around. Back at home, Yuli's grandmother gave thanks to God about the progress of Yuli and Chen's relationship, while her mother insisted she shouldn't be with Chen. She worried about how much Kang would be hurt, but Yuli's grandmother argued that times had changed, and no one needed their ex's approval to move on. Yuli intervened to stop their argument, assuring them she would handle things herself. On another day, Chen's first visit to Yuli's house took an unexpected turn. He made himself at home and took a long bath at Yuri's place. Yuli's mother grew increasingly agitated as she needed to use the bathroom. Yuli, concerned something had happened, leaned against the door only to hear him singing inside. Her mother was furious, ready to confront him, but Yuli and her grandmother managed to calm her down. Over time, Chen began to pick Yuli up from work every day. When Yuli and her friend were scheduled to film at a resort, Chen secretly arranged for their accommodations and even had her friend take her sightseeing. Yuli didn't remember this resort was actually where they had first met. Chen pretended to run into Yuli by chance, and they strolled along the beach. Before he left, he shyly gave her a letter, confessing his feelings. The next day, Yuli responded to his confession, but just as they were about to kiss, she tripped and fell into his arms. In that moment, they finally understood their feelings for each other. Later that night, a masked intruder broke into Yuli's home. She woke up to confront him. Her grandmother, alarmed, grabbed her phone to call the police, but the intruder snatched it and grabbed her by the throat. Luckily, Kang, who's been investigating the case, appeared just in time. However, the intruder used the grandmother as a shield to escape. Kang had no choice but to let him go. He then rushed the grandmother to the hospital. When Chen heard what happened, he immediately left his meeting and rushed to the hospital, using his connections to get the best room and doctors for Yuli's grandmother. It soon became clear that Mary had been involved in setting up this break-in, all because of a memory card she had discovered hidden in a necklace. The card contained secret about illegal activities involved cosmetic surgeries for criminals. Mary's evil mother advised her to frame Yuli by planting the necklace on her. Mary then leaked the information that Yuli had the necklace, leading the criminal associates straight to Yuli. Not long after Chen sent Yuli's grandmother home from the hospital, the grandmother deliberately asked Yuli to wait a bit before leaving, creating an opportunity for the two to spend some time alone. The next day, grandmother invited Chen to their house for dinner and even suggested he stay overnight. Chen took advantage of the situation, saying that his own house was under repair due to plumbing issues, so he accepted her invitation without hesitation. That night, Chen came to chat with Yuli, and they both fell asleep. The next morning, Yuli's mother caught them sleeping in the same bed. Chen explained that all they did was talking about their school days. But the grandmother joked that since the rice was already cooked, they should hurry and set a wedding date. Yuli's mother thought her own mother had lost her mind and pulled Yuli aside to urge her to break up with Chen. She told Yuli that they belonged to different worlds, and if it weren't for the unexpected pregnancy, Chen would never be interested in her. These words were overheard by Chen, who was standing outside. He then went to Yuli's mother to express his true feelings, promising that he would prove his love for Yuli through his actions. That evening, when Chen returned to his large but empty mansion, he felt an overwhelming overwhelming sense of loneliness. He missed the warmth of Yuli's home. Realizing how much Yuli meant to him, he made up his mind to propose to her. The next day, he took Yuli to a book signing by her favorite author. He asked her to wait in line while he stepped away for a moment. Suddenly, the people in line started dancing. Yuli, confused but amused, clapped along to the rhythm. Then, two girls pulled her into the center of the open space, and that's when Chen appeared, dancing with awkward moves. Yuli was stunned, thinking this must be another typical proposal stunt. Sure enough, Chen knelt down on one knee and presented a 10-carat diamond ring to propose. The crowd cheered, and Chen was confident that the atmosphere was perfect, waited for Yuli's yes. But to his shock, Yuli refused. She believed Chen was only marrying her because of the baby and not because he truly loved her. Chen argued that marrying was the only way to give their child a happy and complete family. The disagreement turned into a heated argument, and in the end, they broke up. Meanwhile, the chairman was framed. A murder weapon was found in the flower pot in his office. He was taken to the police station for questioning. The chairman used his connections to secure medical parole, but that very night, his secretary Kim drugged him and took him to an abandoned amusement park. It turned out Kim was actually the leader of the criminal group, and when the chairman heard her singing a childhood lullaby, he realized she was his long-lost daughter. Kim blamed him for her mother's death and for abandoning her at an orphanage to survive on her own. The chairman tried to explain that there was more to the story, but Kim refused to listen, vowing to take back everything that should belong to her. Later at the hospital, Yuli nearly fell, but was saved in time by Kim. Yuli recognized Kim was the same intruder who had broken into her house. She tried to call Kang, but he didn't answer, so she left a voicemail, but Kim found out this and kidnapped her. Kang, hearing the message, rushed to the hospital and confronted Kim. But seeing Yuli held by Kim with a knife pointing at her, he had no choice but to let her go. Fortunately, Chen, still worried about Yuli, had been following them in a taxi. Knowing her plan had been exposed, Kim decided to drown the chairman in a water tank. She also placed an electricity wire next to Yuli. Chen arrived and saw his father about to drown. He wanted to save his father, but didn't notice the danger Yuli was in. The chairman urged Chen to save his future daughter-in-law first. Just then, Kang arrived and, seeing the high-voltage wire, frantically told Chen not to break the water tank, otherwise they would all die from electric shock. As the water rose above the chairman's head, Kang quickly found the power source and cut it off, then shot the tank, releasing the water. Everyone was saved. After this incident, Kang realized he could never forget Yuli, but he was torn between his feelings and his belief that he wasn't the right match for her. Back home, he pulled out the ring he had used to propose to her and thought about what Yuli's mother told him about Chen and Yuli's breakup. He made up his mind to reconcile with Yuri. Meanwhile, Chen visited the grandmother, asking her to help him win Yuli back. At a family dinner, the grandmother invited Chen while Yuli's mother brought Kang, making Yuli's father feel stuck between the two. After dinner, Kang confessed his feelings to Yuli, telling her he couldn't live without her. Chen wasn't far behind, appearing to declare his love for Yuli as well. The two men locked eyes, knowing the competition had truly begun. Both men began competing daily for Yuli's attention, even fighting over who would drive her home from work. Yuli, unable to take it anymore, finally exploded, calling out their childish behavior and telling them to settle it once and for all. The two then went to a restaurant to compete in a drinking contest. Neither would back down, but Kang finally won, carrying Chen home. Chen, in his drunken state, confessed that Yuli had changed him a lot. He said that as long as Yuli was happy, he would accept her choice, even if it wasn't him. This seemed to make Kang change his opinion about Chen. The next day, both men visited Yuli's house. Her mother insisted that Yuli to make a choice. Yuli promised she would announce her decision the following day. Suddenly, she had an appendicitis attack and was rushed to the hospital. The surgery went smoothly and the baby was fine. After the operation, Yuli refused painkillers to avoid harming the baby, and Chen and Kang, for the first time, agreed on something, urging her to take the medication, took turns caring for her. Since then, the two men became friends, even though they both still try to win Yuli back. A month later, Yuli decided to make her final choice. 10 months after that, on the day of her baby's 100th day celebration, the family gathered for a group photo. The next day, Yuli's wedding took place. Chen arrived early to help set up and explain to the guests that the bride was on her way. Just as he finished speaking, Yuli and her family arrived. The wedding began, and the groom was Kang. In the end, Yuli had chosen her first love, and they finally walked down the aisle together.